If you've ever wished you could understand your own mind a little better, this might be the missing piece. Because talking to yourself isn't a problem at all. It's a misunderstood strength many people overlook. Your brain uses this habit to navigate thoughts and feelings in a way that's more structured than it appears. And when you understand why, a surprising amount of your behavior starts falling into place. Tap like and subscribe, and let's explore what this really means. Number 1. Motivational self-talk and performance. Have you noticed how a simple phrase you whisper to yourself can suddenly make something hard feel just a little more possible? When you encourage yourself out loud, your brain treats those words as cues, almost like a gentle push from someone you trust deeply. Positive phrases land differently because your own voice carries an authority that outside motivation rarely matches. Instead of tightening up under pressure, you create a small surge of energy that helps your body follow through. And the moment you shift from, "don't mess this up," to, "you can handle this," your mind stops bracing for failure and starts preparing for action. What makes this so powerful is that your brain isn't just hearing words. It's reorganizing its entire response to the challenge in front of you. That quiet boost you give yourself becomes a bridge between hesitation and movement, revealing how much influence your inner voice already has. And once you start noticing that shift, you may begin to wonder what else your words are shaping beneath the surface. Number 2. Self-talk for emotional regulation. Psychology shows that one of the most effective ways to calm yourself down is something most people overlook. When you speak soothing words out loud, your brain registers them differently than silent thoughts, creating a small but powerful shift in your emotional state. Using second-person language adds another layer to this effect, giving you just enough distance to step out of the overwhelm and into a clearer headspace. It's like you momentarily become both the guide and the one being guided, and that separation helps your nervous system settle faster than you'd expect. Your body listens to the tone as much as the meaning, which is why a steady voice can slow the internal chaos you've been trying to manage quietly. In those moments, you're not escaping the feeling, you're giving yourself a safer way to move through it. And as you sense how your voice softens the emotional weight, it opens a deeper question about how you respond to the thoughts that don't feel as gentle. Number 3. Negative self-talk and its effects. People often tell you to be harder on yourself, but that advice can quietly work against you in ways they never mention. The truth is that harsh inner dialogue doesn't build strength, it drains it, tightening your body and unsettling your mind before you even realize what's happening. When you repeatedly speak to yourself in a critical tone, your brain reacts as if it's under threat, increasing tension and amplifying worry. Over time, those patterns can shape your mood more than any single stressful moment, because your nervous system learns to expect pressure even when nothing is wrong. And yet, many people treat this internal criticism as discipline, never noticing how it quietly erodes their confidence. Reframing those thoughts isn't about pretending everything is perfect. It's about giving your mind a chance to breathe instead of bracing. And as you start to feel how different your body becomes when your inner voice softens, it naturally leads you to notice what happens in moments when stress hits a little harder. Number 4. Self-talk for stress recovery. Picture yourself in the middle of a tense moment, shoulders tight, breath shallow, and you quietly whisper something steady just to hold yourself together. Why does that small sound change everything? In high-pressure situations, your brain is searching for any signal that tells it whether to keep fighting or finally ease up, and your own voice becomes one of the clearest cues it can follow. When you speak calmly, even if your thoughts feel chaotic, your nervous system reads that tone as a sign that the danger isn't as immediate as it feels. That's why people trained for intense environments, first responders, pilots, performers, use deliberate self-talk to stay grounded when adrenaline spikes. The word choice matters, but the tone matters even more, because your body listens for safety before it listens for logic. In those moments, your voice becomes an anchor that steadies the storm instead of feeding it. And once you feel how quickly your body responds to that anchor, you may begin to wonder how this same inner stability shapes the way you rise after difficult moments, not just during them. Number 5, self-talk and resilience. Have you ever noticed how the words you use with yourself during tough moments seem to change the way those moments land in your body? When you speak to yourself with even a hint of support, your mind reorganizes the experience from something overwhelming into something survivable. Positive self-talk doesn't erase the difficulty, but it gives your brain a narrative that keeps you moving instead of shutting down. That's why people who rebound quickly from setbacks often talk to themselves in ways that keep the path forward visible, even when the outcome is uncertain. Your inner voice becomes a quiet source of stability, reminding you that you're still capable, still thinking, still here. Over time, this steady internal dialogue builds a kind of mental endurance that doesn't always show on the outside, but changes everything on the inside. And once you notice how your own words help you stand up after disappointment, it naturally shifts your attention to how those same words shape your creativity when you're trying to bring new ideas to life. Number 6. Self-talk and creativity. Some of the most original ideas you've ever had didn't come from silence. They came from something you said out loud without even thinking. When you speak your thoughts, your mind treats them as new material, opening doors you didn't notice when everything stayed inside your head. Verbalizing an idea gives it shape, and once it has shape, your brain can twist it, stretch it, or connect it to something unexpected. That's why creative people often mutter through half-formed thoughts, because hearing their own words sparks associations that silent thinking can't reach. And when you catch yourself explaining an idea to no one, you're actually testing its strength, letting weak pieces fall away before they waste your time. Saying things out loud turns your mind into a sounding board, revealing patterns and possibilities that didn't exist a moment earlier. And as you start to feel how your voice expands your imagination, it draws your attention back to the quieter form of self-talk, the one that shapes how you think long before any words are spoken. Number 7, inner speech and thought organization. Sometimes the clarity you're looking for doesn't come from thinking harder, but from understanding the quiet voice that's been guiding you all along. Your inner speech acts like a constant narrator, sorting your thoughts even when you're not aware it's happening. When you choose to say those thoughts out loud, everything slows just enough for your mind to catch up with itself, giving you a clearer path through whatever you're trying to understand. Speaking your thoughts transforms a vague feeling into something structured, something your brain can work with instead of wrestle against. That's why tiny phrases you whisper while trying to concentrate can suddenly make the details sharper and the next step more obvious. In those moments, you're not just talking. You're converting scattered thoughts into something your mind can finally hold. And once you feel that shift, it becomes easier to notice how your voice supports you when you're navigating tasks that demand even more precision and mental bandwidth. Number 8, self-talk in problem solving. Picture yourself standing over a complicated task, talking through each step as if you're guiding someone else. Why does that simple habit suddenly make everything feel more manageable? When you speak your steps out loud, your brain no longer has to juggle every detail internally, freeing up space to think more clearly. That shift reduces the mental weight that usually builds when you're trying to keep too much in your head at once. Your voice becomes a tool, turning a tangled problem into a sequence your mind can actually follow. And in those moments, you're not rambling. You're creating order, giving your thoughts a place to land instead of spinning in circles. This kind of self-directed speech acts like an external memory, helping you stay focused on what matters instead of getting lost in the noise. Solutions often show up faster because you've cleared enough mental room for them to take shape. And as you begin to feel how your voice steadies complex moments, you might start noticing how it supports you again when you're trying to learn something entirely new. Number 9, instructional self-talk in skill building. There's a moment in every new skill where you quietly tell yourself what to do next. And it's easy to miss how powerful that habit really is. When you speak instructions out loud, your brain treats those words like a guide, anchoring movements and decisions that would otherwise feel unfamiliar. Saying each step as you perform it creates a rhythm your mind can follow, turning confusion into something more structured and learnable. That's why athletes repeat technique cues under their breath, and musicians whisper finger placements. Your voice is helping your brain map the action in real time. With every spoken step, the task becomes less chaotic, and your mind gains a clearer sense of what comes next. Over time, these verbal cues sink inward and fade into quiet intuition. But the spoken stage is what allows that transformation to happen. And when you start paying attention to how your voice helps you learn, you may begin to recognize echoes of this habit in places you thought you'd outgrown long ago. Number 10. Private speech and learning. If you've ever watched a child narrate every move they make, you might wonder why that impulse feels so natural, even for adults. What looks like simple chatter is actually one of the brain's earliest tools for turning actions into understanding. As children grow, that out-loud narration slowly moves inward, becoming the inner speech you use every day without noticing. Yet the habit never truly disappears. It just becomes quieter, resurfacing whenever you need to remember something important or keep yourself on track. Those little phrases you mutter while searching for your keys or organizing your thoughts are echoes of the same mechanism that once helped you learn to interact with the world. Even now, speaking your thoughts gives your mind structure, helping you bridge the gap between intention and action. And once you notice how this early instinct still shapes your adult thinking, it becomes easier to recognize the subtle ways your voice strengthens your memory itself. Number 11. Memory enhancement through speech. Psychology shows that one of the simplest ways to strengthen your memory is something you already do without thinking. When you speak information aloud, your brain creates two separate traces of the same moment, one from hearing it and one from seeing it, which makes the memory far harder to lose. Silent reading gives your mind a single pathway, but spoken words create a second anchor that quietly reinforces what you want to remember. That's why repeating a name right after hearing it, or whispering your grocery list under your breath, suddenly makes everything stick a little better. Your voice becomes a cue your brain can't ignore, turning fleeting details into something more solid and accessible. In those moments, you're not being forgetful or scattered. You're giving your mind the extra layer it naturally responds to. And once you start noticing how speech sharpens your recall, it invites a deeper look at how your self-talk shapes the way you focus in the moments that matter most. Number 12. Self-talk for focus and task control. Have you ever caught yourself whispering, "Focus," right when your mind starts to drift, and wondered why that single word pulls you back so quickly? Your brain treats these verbal cues like a reset button, interrupting the noise long enough for you to redirect your attention. Speaking your intention out loud cuts through distractions in a way silent determination rarely can, giving your mind a clear signal about what matters in that moment. That's why students murmur reminders during exams, and professionals quietly talk themselves through demanding tasks. The words create a path that your thoughts naturally follow. Even a short phrase can steady your mind, helping you work with more accuracy and less mental friction. These spoken cues act like a small agreement with yourself, reinforcing the direction you want your attention to go. And when you notice how effortlessly your voice can guide your focus, it becomes easier to see how shifting the way you talk to yourself might shape not just what you do, but how clearly you see yourself in the process. Number 13. Third-person self-talk for clarity. Sometimes the fastest way to see yourself more clearly is by using a few words you rarely think about. When you switch from I to you, your mind gains just enough distance to soften the emotion and sharpen the logic. It feels subtle, but this shift changes the way your brain interprets the moment, almost as if you're guiding someone you care about instead of fighting with yourself. Hearing your own name in that context activates a different kind of attention, one that's calmer, steadier, and far less reactive. It turns a heated moment into something you can actually navigate, not just endure. This kind of self-talk doesn't make your feelings disappear. It gives you space to move within them without getting swallowed. And once you sense how a simple change in wording can reshape your reactions, it naturally leads you to wonder why something so useful has been treated as strange for so long. Number 14. Social stigma around self-talk. You've probably felt that tiny jolt of embarrassment when someone catches you talking to yourself. But have you ever asked why that reaction feels so automatic? For a long time, society labeled this habit as odd or unstable, even though it's one of the most common cognitive tools the human mind uses. The truth is, your brain benefits from spoken thoughts in ways that are far more grounded and functional than people realize. What looks unusual from the outside is often a sign of someone actively regulating emotions, solving problems, or organizing their inner world with precision. And while the stigma lingers, modern understanding shows that self-talk isn't a flaw at all. It's a quiet indicator of mental engagement and clarity. As you begin to see how deeply rooted and useful this instinct is, the old assumptions start to feel surprisingly small. And recognizing that shift might make you look at your own inner voice with a sense of respect instead of hesitation. Your self-talk has never been something to hide. It's been a quiet sign of awareness, strength, and a mind that works in its own thoughtful way. When you listen closely, you can hear how gently it tries to guide you back to yourself. It's one of the rare habits that shows who you are beneath the noise of the world. If this made you feel understood, you're welcome to like and subscribe so we can keep exploring these truths together. And as you continue, you may notice that some of your strangest habits are actually clues to a deeper intelligence waiting to be recognized.